to uh, draw all day and uh, keep my head down. So it's the same for me, kind of. But Robin, it messes her up because she's the one who goes out into the real world and does the real stuff.
Right. Yeah. She's the outgoing one, the talkative one.
Yes, she is, and she knows everybody. Everybody knows Robin, so
Right.
she's much better connected in the comic industry than I am. I just know you guys and one other person.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's it kind of goes back. We always kid. It's like, so we wonder how it is for Terry to like go to all these shows and make all these books that everyone's like, but they all go there to get stuff signed just to talk to Robin.
Yeah, I know. It's not fair. She should be the one drawing the books as well, and I should just be carrying her bags.
Right.
Can she draw too?
She has drawn a smiley face on my page before, and then I'll finish it out and leave it there. You know,
That's
um,
fun.
a couple of her smiley faces have ended up in the books. She'll just lean over and just like pick up my pencil and just put a smiley face on the page somewhere, and I figure out a way to put it in there.
That's funny.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll have to listen.
her contribution.
So I guess is this also getting you used to, like, I know at this point in time you're used to traveling with all the convention schedules. So around the US and over to
Yeah.
Europe and stuff. So is this an adjustment for you of knowing that you're really supposed to be somewhere but can't be there?
Absolutely. I mean, where we're supposed to be this weekend, WonderCon.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and typically we do like between say 5 to 10, 11 shows a year, and we count on them. I mean, that's factored in on how we're going to make this work. So, yeah, that's a big deal to not have that. Um, it's an adjustment, and we're still hoping that when everything opens back up, that the second half of the year is going to be really busy with scheduling, or the last third of the year, or the last fourth of the year, or the last week of the year. I'll take whatever they give us.
That's right. You may have like after Thanksgiving.
I know. Let's just put it this way: the shows next year are going to be gangbuster.
Yeah, I would imagine. I imagine there'd be a lot of stuff going on then. I know it's probably pretty crazy and all that.
Mhm.
So we know you're working on books. We know you're doing sketches. So like, are you currently reading any types of books, or what are you currently reading to try to keep yourself somewhat sane through all this, to just not stay in your room?
Well, the guitar is what I use as my escape. And then I've been watching the old movies on YouTube. I missed the old Turner movie channel. Used to have Turner movies. They're all on YouTube now. So if you want to go watch a Charlie Chan movie or something like that, that's where you find it. W.C. Fields, Marx Brothers, all that. So I've been watching a lot of the older movies again. I'd always read about some particular movies that I'd never seen, like some of the 1950s sci-fi Space Invader stuff. There's nothing better than a black and white movie made for $10,000 with a spaceship and a hot rod. I mean, that's everything you want right there. And then I kept reading about, say, Boris Karloff made these detective movies back in the 30s. So I can find them now on YouTube and watch them. And they're not that bad, that's what I use. It's like when I can't sit in the chair anymore at the table, then I will I'll go, find a lounge chair, sit back and watch a 60-minute movie.
Gotcha.
And I'll play guitar.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I always like I was always impressed with like 12 Angry Men. Like, here's an entire movie with just these actors in a room for 2 hours, and it's like, that's just unbelievably awesome.
I know. That's one of those things that was just perfect for the stage, where everybody can have their characters and end up yelling at each other. That's one of those things where you see it in theater in the round, in one of those places where there's only 40 seats, and there are guys that are on the small stage, and they're just barking and yelling at each other. And in the light, all you see is spit coming out of their mouth.
Right. Yep.
And they're just spitting at each other. That's what, and I thought about that when they were saying, okay, you guys need to wear masks, because when people are talking to you, they're just,
Yeah.
And I thought immediately of those little theater in the rounds, those guys yelling at each other. It's just, I said, oh yeah, they do.
All that
Sometimes at a convention, we wish we had a spit shield, If you get somebody who's talking real loud and, they're just like speckling, you think, is it raining?
Yeah, like the post office here is using
Shower curtain.
clear shower curtain. So you'll have to take that now to your shows. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that was an option.
that's what they're doing. Yep, they got clear shower curtains in front of them now. So they got like a little slit at the bottom, so
For your box.
so for your box or where you put the money to get stamps.
Okay, I'm going to have clear shower curtains at my table, and it's, free to walk by and look at me, but if you want to shake my hand, it's $5. We open the curtain. Close the curtain.
Or you can attach one of those rubber gloves like you clean with, and then you.
Like
Or
Bubble Boy.
Or just use the curtain and shake through the curtain, I hope.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can get as neurotic as I need to get, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what I was saying the other day. I was like, I kind of like wearing the mask everywhere now, so that just might have to be a theme.
When I was a little boy and watched Western movies, I wore the mask a lot. I'm just back to being 7 years old.
That's right. Yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah.
So did you always have a passion for your guitars, or is that more of a later in life, or like from day one you were like the rock band Terry Moore that was like always playing?
Yeah, from like age 13, age 12 or 13. Yeah, that was it. I've had one since I was that age. So yeah, just always. Have you got anything like that in your life that you've been doing since you were, 12, 13, 14?
Probably my whole escape on that is motorcycles. I use motorcycles as my escape. So I own like 5 motorcycles, and so whenever I need to go out and clear my head, I'll just get on one and just go.
Every time I get on a motorcycle, and I've been on a bunch, I fall down and go boom.
Okay.
Not always. It
I
happens.
cannot keep them up. But my problem is I'm always on smaller bike. I would never get on a big bike. I just kill myself. But the smaller bikes, they're made to jump. They're made to hill climb. And apparently I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all kind of have something like that. So now we're getting a hard hitting question here. So, like with everything you're working on, what happened to our SIP novel? Is that now just on the back burner, or is that?
I'm looking for it on my bookshelf.
Crickets. I hear crickets.
It's right here. I just got to download it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Actually, I do have a legitimate excuse. I've just been on the deadline treadmill for so long that I haven't been able to do anything else. So I'm hoping that, I have one more issue of 5 years, and then that's it. I can't put out another book until Diamond opens back up. So I have this gap period where I'm going to run out of excuses not to start that thing.
Right.
So, it's awfully hot in here.
Well, I'm not going to probably see it at show this year, so I can't ask there. So I might as well ask here.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Philip.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Here, I drew you a sketch. You can have this sketch.
It looks a lot like
It
you.
does look a lot like me. Yeah. Thank you.
That one's $1 million.
So now this one's not for me. This one was asked of me to ask you, so I had nothing to do with this one. So any progression on the TV series That was the. I knew I was like I'll ask, but I'm not going there.
Oh my gosh. Um,
It gets
okay.
easier here though, just to let you know.
And I do always try to answer this honestly. Um, the Rachel Rising is taken, and
Right.
it's at a good TV place. And then Motor Girl is taken, and it's in flux between two different TV strong people. And then Strangers in Paradise is meant to start off as a movie that is so good, everybody wants a TV show out of it. That's the plan. And so the script for the movie, the director Angela Robinson and I wrote a script together, and then she sent it in to her power person, the person who's directing the show, the Wizard of Oz, and got the feedback. And the feedback came back as, why don't you do it like this, which turns out to be the way the book is. Start off with Kachu and Suburbia, that kind of thing. So now Angela went back and did a rewrite according to that, and then she finished it, and now it's going back to the lady. And the goal was, before this virus hit, the goal was to get it greenlit before there was going to be this expected WGA strike, Writers Guild of America strike. They were expecting to see one sometime in the springtime. Now that's all gone away. So now everybody's at home and reading and has no more excuse, like I was too busy to read it. They have to read it. So we'll see what happens now that everybody's on a different game plan. But that's what it is. I mean, these things are just like, you push this, you push that. And it goes back to the same thing I've always said, which is, you have to talk. The people you want are busy.
Right.
And then it takes time for them to respond, and then you have to talk them into it. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to talk like 100 employed, very busy people to quit their job or plan their next job to be with you and bankroll it and commit to it. And it's just, that's why they're all so nervous and neurotic. Should I, shouldn't I? Because you could waste a whole year on the wrong thing, So I'm seeing this play out, this general hospital scenario of will they, won't they, should I, shouldn't I? And I feel for them. I understand, And it's all coming from this, guy who's not in their business, this guy in Texas who did a comic book. Do we trust that guy? I understand. If it was different, say like Philip, if you and I went to Hollywood and we spent 3 months there and all we did was lunch meetings and just sell. We kind of feel like, man, if I just got out there, I could really push this and make something happen. But we're not there. You just have to let it process.
Gotcha. Well, I guess
This is why they stand up at the awards ceremonies and say, "Oh, you believed in me for 25 years. 130,000 years ago, my great-grandfather started this project."
Yeah.
I believe them.
Well, at least it's fast then, right? So that's what we're getting out of it. It's all moving really fast.
I've lost all of my diva about it, and my only rule now is in my lifetime, please. Because if all this hits after I'm dead, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be like, man, that was just always a little late.
And if I'm gone and the awards start rolling in like Brian K. Vaughan style, then Philip, you need to get up there and get them all for me and say, man, he is so mad about this.
I will. I will. I'll be there.
He is rolling over in his grave. He is madder than a hornet. That's good.
Yeah, I'll be the first ones up there banging the drums for it.
Thank you.
So going back to your original Strangers miniseries at Antarctic, when you were originally writing that, was that all you had at the time for that series, or were you really hoping it would take off into what it did? because it's, you know, it's a different type of, when you read it by itself and then you look at what you did in the series, the flow, the pacing, the wording, everything, it's almost two different types of, you know, it's not as, it may not be as drastic as the Buffy movie versus the Buffy TV series, but it's there. It's close.
It was, when I did the first issue, all I had was the first issue. I made it up as I went along.
Gotcha.
And then I just sent it out to people and said, and they said, can you do, so this is your first comic? Yes. Do you think you could do a second one? Sure. And I was lying. I was just trying to bluff my way into the job. I didn't have anything, you know. And so Antarctic Press said, okay, we'll give you a 3-issue run. So I went home and made up number 2. And while I'm drawing number 2, I was imagining, you know, I was just started imagining possibilities. And I just kind of made those first 3 up as I went along. And then I had 9 months or 6 months to think about the series that I wanted to do. So I did have some time to think in the series. So yeah, they were 2 different things.
Gotcha.
That's very, nobody's ever noticed that before, really, that they were so different.
Yeah, they're very different. I actually just, she knows I get distracted when I go into my little nook, and then so on my shelf is, you know, all your stuff, as you know. And so I pulled it and I read it and I'm like, this is just still nothing like anything else that's a part of that series. But I mean, it's, you know, because of the way the whole series after that went.
Did you ever see the big gallery edition book?
Yes.
You know how it has, you got it. Yeah, it's that first book. I did it twice, and in the gallery edition, you have those big vellum pages that compare, like, the first draft to the published draft, and you can see, because I finished the first edition, the first draft, drew it and everything, and then I thought, man, I'm thinking of so many better versions I could have done. I ended up having to go back and just redo the whole thing and start over. And then I could probably still be redrawing the first issue over and over. But I realized that it's not about getting the first one perfect. It's about just putting them out one after the other. And that's the first lesson I learned in comics was from Todd McFarlane. He was always late, and he said, it doesn't matter, just keep putting them out. You know, and he was always rushing his helpers and everything, saying, let's just keep putting this book out. We just got to get this book out on schedule. And so I just moved on to 2, fixed what I had, moved on to 3, fixed that mess. Like that, you know.
Yeah. So in the main series, when it went through end, so when did you finally decide how your ending was going to go to that book? Did it, like, when it ended with the final issue, was it something that you came up like while you were working on number 50, or was it basically, I'm at number 88, so this is going to be the ending?
No, we knew about 1.5 years before the ending that it was time to wrap it up. And by time, I mean the sales were just getting too low on the singles to continue. Because now everybody was trade waiting. So I didn't have the support of the singles to keep, you know, that's how I paid the bills. So I had time to think ahead. And where was I on the book? I was probably about probably in the late 60s of the issue run, like, you know, issue 60 something. And so, yeah, I had it all worked out in my head. And I had 2 big options. Does he, doesn't he? And I waited until the last minute to make that decision. And then it was like that for other things. And then I just kind of went with my gut as to what was right. And so yeah, by the time I got to the last 3 issues, man, I was just all about it. I was totally on fire. I didn't even want to stop to sleep. And I just did them just like, I was obsessed. So that last 2 months or 3 months of working was just, man, intense. And then the night that I did the last page, I had Robin take a photo. And it was just like, okay, Lord, I'm ready now. So it was a relief.
Well, at least you survived all the death threats when you killed David. So that's, that's a good thing.
Spoilers. He doesn't mean it, kids. It was a joke.
It's too late for years ago now. It's too late.
I know, it's kind of like spoiling Gone with the Wind. Don't tell me the ending.
I won't tell you about Titanic. We'll leave that alone.
The North Winds. The North Winds! It's funny. Right about the time I was finishing that, Jeff was finishing Bone.
Right.
And we would call each other late at night while we were working. And how you doing? I don't know. And Jeff would ask a question, what do you think I should do with the cave and the dragons and all that? And we just tout things out. And I'd say, what do you think I should do with this? And we both said the same thing. We both said, I'm just praying that I don't get hit by a bus before I finish this, He said, I'm being really careful not to, like put my head in a lion's mouth or something right now, just be careful. Because we really were all about, because he had spent years stacking these solo cups, right? And you're down to the last 3 ones on the pyramid and you don't want it to fall. You don't want anything to happen. You really want to finish it now. And then when you finish, okay. So that was a strange feeling. I haven't had that feeling since.
Well, it's, it was basically the series that everyone, no matter what, will always remember. So it was a big ending for that. So I imagine it was a little different.
Do you remember when J.K. Rowling finished the Harry Potter books and she was in the hotel room in Scotland and wrote her name on the bottom of the lamp and got in trouble for doing it? She said, I finished the book here, da-da-da, in this room, put the lamp back on the table in the hotel room. And later on, the hotel was saying, whoa. And I totally understand her wanting to do that, mark the moment, because she's in the room alone with a glass of wine and woo, and nobody's there. So, you write on the lamp. I totally get it. I didn't finish Harry Potter, but I finished my Harry Potter.
Right. Well, for a lot of us, it is
That's
our
more
Harry
important
Potter.
than Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
it is. So, and you know that. So, well, I'm sure you've been told. I know we've told you that. So how about that? We'll go with there.
You know what? In our world, anybody who hasn't read SIP is a muggle.
That's right. Exactly.
Those
That's
muggles.
exactly. So in the early days of SIP and all that, you came out with some very interesting merchandising. You did like an alarm clock. You had phone cards come out. You had postcard sets.
Calendars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about coming up with some interesting merchandising for what you're doing now? I know you do like the T-shirts and things like that, but it's not. During that time, there was a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that. Have you ever thought about doing some of that again?
A lot of the interesting stuff seemed to come from Dynamic Forces, I have to say. The phone cards and stuff like that. And then Claiborne Moore, he was doing the statues and stuff. So other people were thinking of them. They would say, what do you think about this and this? And I'd go, oh, okay, that sounds fun. But I haven't had those conversations lately, or maybe those conversations aren't getting to me. Maybe Robin's having them or something, but
Gotcha.
nobody comes up to me and says, hey, let's do an Altoids 10 of just your characters or something. Because I would go, yeah. So,
You
a
get
couple
some
years-
statues.
I know, or something, a couple of years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, Eric Powell sets up his booth right across from us, and he had a Gibson Les Paul on a guitar stand, and it had Goon painted on the front of it, and it was totally finished, like a finished guitar in a guitar store, just beautiful.
Right.
And I went over and said, "What? How did you get that?" And he said that he had approached Gibson, or Gibson approached him and said, we're doing a series of artist editions, like famous street artists or whatever. And we'll send you a blank top, do your painting on it, send it back to us, we'll finish it, put that lacquer and all that on it. And then if you take it and promote it for a year, you can have it. And I thought, oh man, I'd love to do that. So I'm very jealous of Eric. I'm wearing his hat actually. I don't know if you can see it. I'm wearing a goon hat. So some guys get all the fun. He's got those great statues as well, you know. I need to talk to Eric maybe about doing something.
At least get like a skateboard base. Come on, everyone has a skateboard base now.
I know. Well, you know why? Maybe I don't have a lot of skateboard readers, you know. Like I'm not doing Spider-Man, which how many skateboards have Spider-Man on them? So, yeah.
We have one here. What is it?
Black Science.
Black Science. Yeah, Black Science skateboard top. Yeah.
There you go. I don't know what my readers typically have. Cars. I would have to paint the underside of their car.
Yeah. Actually, there's probably some of us that will let you do that. So don't be giving me ideas.
On offer.
So this question is actually for me. So you've done sketchbooks basically over the last 12 years. So for some reason you've decided to skip 2012 and 2018. Like, what are you going to do for us people that are really OCD about this? I've got like these 2-year gaps sitting in there. Like, can you just make 2 sketchbooks for us and put 2012 and 2018 on it?
He's not kidding. He's not kidding, folks. Philip, this is driving me crazy as well. So here's the sketchbooks. Is that a full run? No. I have every one of them, and it's not because this turkey got in the middle of there somewhere. And that's not working for me. That doesn't work. You know? It's the regret of my life, Philip.
Need some retro sketches. Just pretend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I should. I think, I shouldn't keep promising what I'm going to do between now and when Diamond comes back, but yeah. I think I have enough stuff to make 2 sketchbooks now, and I should make a 2021 and what is it? What are we missing? 2012?
12 and 18. 2012 and 2018.
I have no excuse. It's like homework. It's like homework. I just didn't do that assignment.
Explain to people, they're like, so you don't have this? I'm like, no, he just didn't do them. I have all this stuff. He just didn't do these sketchbooks.
I know. It's driving me crazy too. I'm so glad it's making you miserable as well.
I have to hear about it all the time.
She does. She has to hear it. I'm like, why? Why does he do this to me?
Okay.
I take it do this just to annoy me. Like, I'm going to get Philip. This is what I'm going to get Philip on.
He's still mad he didn't get a sketch on Friday.
I have your sketch. You have your sketch right here.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 big regrets so far in my career. I'm racking them up. I have a list, but the top 2 are not getting the sketchbooks, skipping 2 years. And the other one is I really am sorry that I made volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. I wished I just made 1 volume because it's so confusing when we're here trying to pull the art, all that stuff there. Please try to get my finger on it. There. There's 4 tubs of art, and it's divided up by volume 1, 2, 3. And when I was doing volume 2, I didn't write volume 2 on there because it was just volume 1, volume 2. We knew the difference. But now it's all over, and say I have somebody wants issue 11, page 7, and Robin is digging in there, and she's saying, "Is this, it's all they have is something out of the omnibus, and they say it's omnibus page number 531," and we're looking it up. She's saying, which one is it? Which volume is it? Which tub? Which folder? Oh, it'd be so much easier if it was just 1 volume, issue 1 through 90, or 107, issue 1 through 107.
Right.
Other than that, everything else is just absolutely perfect.
Oh, yeah. Live and learn, live and learn.
Live and learn, next career.
So when you do your sketches, you do a lot of circles in the background. Is there a meaning behind that?
That started when Robin was saying it needs something in the background. And the whole thing about the world of femininity that I draw is that there are no straight lines. So rather than putting the usual box motif or squares or triangles or something, I went with the circle. And you end up with kind of this classic cameo look that I thought it just kind of worked, just kind of, I thought it seemed appropriate. There was nothing angular there to be threatening. It was never, so I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of went with that. And then when I draw some guys, I'll put angular stuff back there, squares or something like that. Like here, where'd it go? I have a sketch here somewhere.
You made it
I fell
run
off
away.
my chair. I can't find it. Oh well. I did a sketch yesterday of Earl and Jet. So it was a guy and a girl, and I did the half circle inside a square. So they're both represented. And it's the same reason why, like in the comic page, the masculine voices get a square and the female voices get a round. And it has to do with that whole theme, like if I broke it down to an icon and all I did was circles and squares, that was my stick figures, and I could still write a story and the circle talks to the square back and forth like that. And because it's Strangers in Paradise work, the characters get the gender that they want. So I've actually had transgender characters who get the voice that they want. And I've yet to hear from anybody about it. Like, because if you think about it, if you draw a transgender character and it's super obvious, then you're being insulting. So I've had characters in there that are transgender and nobody has noticed or said anything. But I don't know. I guess it's there if you read more carefully, So I don't feel like it seems to be the issue that everybody is struggling for. I feel masculine, I feel feminine, whatever skin you're born in. So with that, the characters are able to get the voice that they want without me assigning them like some old 1960s cartoon artist,
I like
Right.
that.
Yep. That's pretty awesome.
Human beings first.
Yep.
I actually started it a long time ago because I was originally just thinking about when you go to a play and you have, say, a character on stage talking, and then the father figure or whoever talks off stage before they come on. And then you can tell who it is by their voice. You don't need a word balloon with a pointer saying, that's the father off stage yelling. And I wanted to be able to do that on the comic book because I wanted people off panel to be able to talk and you knew who was talking. Like if I had 4 people in Francine's living room and one of them is Uncle Maury, and Uncle Maury is piping in stuff off panel, but we're looking at Kachu, I wanted you to be able to read it correctly, like a play. Because I can't say Uncle Maury, but I don't want to be trapped by those stupid old school cartoon rules of you need a pointer and you have to show who's talking. I wanted to be able to mix up being able to write like a playwright, but show it like a cartoonist, And also, it also helps me when I was doing larger pages where there were multiple balloons and I don't have to connect them all anymore. If it's just 2 characters on the page, like David and Kachu having a fight in the yard, they can both be talking and you don't have 25 pointers on the page. messing it up as if you're 8 years old. I'm going, he said, she said, he said, she said, and you can just read it, like you're reading a play script, like dialogue, and there they are, So that's what happens when you have too much time at a drawing table. You you think about that, and every decision is a big deal. This will change the world.
Yeah.
I like
Yep. That's actually pretty cool. Pretty cool. So in the past, you've worked on some books or some properties that wasn't necessarily yours, like Birds of Prey, Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. You've done some covers. Is there any other properties that's not yours that you would like to work on, or there's something there that you think you can give voice to?
That's a tricky question because, like the good ones are taken. Like when I did Runaways, that's all about Brian K. Vaughan until he doesn't want to do it anymore. And then they give it to Josh Whedon till he doesn't want to do it anymore. And then they give it to me. So it's like a hand-me-down t-shirt by that point. And my job is to not insult anybody with my run. You're working on it and you're on probation. The Runaways fans are there not because of you. They're there because of somebody else. So it's your job not to mess it up. You don't go in on the first issue and turn everybody into less than they were. So you can do it. You just have to you really have to do your homework. You really have to be respectful, and you really have to understand that you're on somebody else's stage. How would you like to open for Jimi Hendrix? It's like that. The only book that I really ever wanted to work on, there's only been 3 books, and one of them I got to do. So the one I got to do was Spider-Man in high school, with that whole cast, the high school cast that I liked so much. So I got to do that with Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. The other book I wanted to do that I never got the chance was Supergirl, because she was she had as much power as Superman, but she was also always treated as a sidekick, And I did a whole Xena parody issue about how insulting the sidekick label is. So, I mean, there's no reason why Supergirl should ever have been a sidekick or assigned to just hanging out with Crypto or, handling, the wacky stuff, And then eventually they brought her back in all these various versions and gave her more earth-shattering stuff to do, but it still was never quite right. The only person, Peter David did a short 1-year writing spell on Supergirl that was beautiful, where the old one was meeting the new one. And then Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor did a 1-year run on Power Girl that was very close to what a Supergirl book should have looked like, a powerful person with a life. So that was all taken care of. That ship has sailed, and no looking back. The one book I really think I should have done, and I talked to the editor, Alex, about it. One time we were in a green room together, and I'm talking about Batman. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I'm bald. I have no hair. And I cannot stand Batman, which is the reason I should write him. Because Batman is about punishment and pain. This guy suffers for his, calling. So he should not be written by somebody that hero worships him. He needs to be written by somebody that hates him and will put him through the grinder, take him to the edge, And I can think of a million ways for Batman to die. And I would love to write him. I think Batman needs a writer on the Joker side, and too many people are portraying the Joker as, that guy's just crazy. So we'll let him run wild for a while. Batman will kind of arrest him right at the last minute and put him back in the jail that seems to be made of butter. I mean, he just comes and goes as he wants, like he has a pass card. So, I mean, the time that I got so mad at Batman was the time that, the famous book where he blows up an atom bomb, kills 1 million people. and Robin, and then spoilers, Robin dies, and then then Batman takes this guy and beats him up a little bit like you would in high school, and then just puts him back in Arkham Asylum. You stay there for 2 days, you bad boy. And then he's out the next issue. That's awful. So that just made that blew my top. At the very least, pull a Tom Clancy and pull out a .45 and shoot him in the knee. At least make it hurt. So that's what I'm looking for, is a chance to get at that guy. Just let me at him.
That should be a
And
fun
I have some positive Batman experiences. I mean, I loved him as a kid. And then one time we were in Baltimore going to go to the Baltimore show, and we're in that hotel with the glass elevator. And it was a football season, and 3 linemen get on the elevator from the Baltimore Ravens, I guess. So Robin and I'm 5'10", Robin's 5'4". These 3 guys stand in front of us and face the elevator door, and we're trapped at the back wall. I swear I'm 5'10". I'm looking at this man's butt. I'm eye level with his belt. And his back and his shoulders, they went out. I have never seen anybody that big in person. And I've been to gyms a lot. I played high school football. I know a lot of big guys who are 6'4" and 300 pounds. This was not that. This was way bigger. And I've never been about next to beefcake that big in my life. And I thought in my head, my wacky head, I thought, this is what it's like to be on the elevator with Batman. It's not like standing next to George Clooney. It's like being on an elevator with this guy, and you just like, whoa. So I understand that Batman should have this. He walks into the room and that's all you see. They say that about George Washington. They say George Washington was much taller than everybody else and quite the figure. And his horse was taller. He had a white horse. It was taller than everybody else's. When he arrived at a dinner party, it was a big deal. He looked like a king arriving. And he walked into the room. The entire room stopped and paid attention when General George Washington walked into the room. So it's like that, these bigger than life figures. There's a reason that guy became our first number one. So yeah, you have to know that crap when you're writing something like Batman. You don't go in there and treat him like George Clooney with toys,
Right. Yeah.
Did I get the job?
Yes. I will send that all out off to DC, and we'll see what we can get going there.
Good, because that sucker's going down.
So all of your series that you've done up even through now, I'll say, and we've had this conversation before, is Motor Girl has probably become one of my favorite series that you've done. So how were you able to capture that emotion from Sam's story? I mean, she would talk about being put through the ringer and coming out, a different end. I mean, there was a lot going on with this character and a lot that she went through to become basically who she was. How do you go through that process? Because it's not just a standard, she, he, him, kind of conversation and just love and heartbreak. I mean, this is, PTSD type. This is torture, basically. And then, I mean, in that story, you captured pretty much a lot of that emotion that you see a lot of coming out of that.
When I was getting out of high school, half the guys in my class enlisted. I got out of high school right at the end of the draft, so it was the Vietnam War. Nixon was president when I was still in high school. So, and just most all those guys came back messed up, because you go to another place, you're isolated in another area of the planet, and they're doing things that are inhuman. So everything you were raised to believe in, how you treat other people, is not there's not the rules there. And it really messes with your head, the things you see and do and the things that are done. And then you come back, and the following Monday, you're standing in Safeway, and you're supposed to be polite to the person checking you out. It's just, how do you handle that? So ever since I was 18, I've grown up with my friends going there, coming back, going there, coming back. My number was like 675 or something like that, and they were up to the 400s, and it was just a matter of time. And then they stopped the draft. So my whole life, it's been one war after another. It was Vietnam, and then it was Desert Storm, and then it was the follow-up, and then it was Afghanistan, and it's just not ending, So, I mean, who doesn't have friends and family that have come back? And you hear the stories, and the stories don't come out by people coming home and just talking freely. The stories come out by being really, really close to somebody, and then them finally, they can't talk for a long time, and then finally one day they start opening up a little bit. And you realize how deep that goes. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and you think, it just blows us away. So I'm thinking about all that and processing it, and thinking about the coming back part. When I watched The Hurt Locker, the part I was interested in was the coming back part. How does he handle that? And the answer to that. And then there was also I remember when they were advertising, this is a little sidetrack, but it's still relevant. When they were advertising the Tom Hanks movie where he was lost on an island, the trailer was 3/4 of it was him lost on the island. The last fourth of the trailer was him coming back. And I wanted to watch that movie so bad just to watch the comeback part. I suffered through all the Robinson Crusoe just so I could see this super interesting 20 minutes of coming back.
Right.
How do you do that? And so I had all that in my head. And I wanted to mash that together. So if you took The Hurt Locker and mashed it together with Wizard of Oz, where, what are the rules? What is reality? What are you dealing with? Have you really gone on this long journey, or did you stay in one place the whole time? So I don't know. It was just all in my head. And I was thinking about it. I was wrapping up Rachel Rising, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do next, and I was going to go straight into it. And about 6 months ahead of time, we were at the New York Comic-Con, and I was walking Artist Alley, and there was a guy who I stopped and talked to about his stuff. And it turns out he was a psychotherapist dealing with PTSD and trauma. And I was telling him I was thinking about this story. And that's when I knew that I had to do it, because he was saying, this is a really, this is a big deal. This is really important. It's affecting a lot of lives. And it's not a big public thing. We're not on a national campaign, but it's a huge problem. So I thought, well, I need to do something, this and just right from the heart. And my attitude about taking on these big issues is I never try to tell. If you'll notice in Motor Girl, there's no rant about the big picture. It's all told in medium close-ups. You just focus on one person, and you get all the info you need to know just by hanging out with them for a couple of weeks and seeing what they're going through. That's your doorway, and you can look through that doorway and see all that story, and enough for you to wonder, how in the world is she holding this together? How is she handling this? How strong must she be to handle this? And that's why in the story I put in some other things to give you some relativity, like, two bouncer bruiser guys from Vegas running up at you to kidnap you. No problem. So overqualified for that crap, that penny ante crap, street crap. So overqualified for all those challenges. That it's meant to show you the distance between that threat and what we're dealing with. And I was so into it, you know. To me, she was the strongest person on the planet. And look at the toll it takes, you know. I was all about it. I poured my heart into it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it shows. It's truly one of my favorite series, and I've probably read it as much as anything I've read.
Thank you.
It's powerful.
You mean you read it all the way through?
Several times.
Several times, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's one of my few that I read through, you know, a lot. So because it is a pretty powerful story from her standpoint and what she goes through. So it's kind of it's a staple. I consider it a staple book.
You know what I've never done? I don't think I've ever admitted this before. I've never gone back and read one of my books. I read them while I make them. And then when I put out a trade, I read that. But I haven't read the, you know, the big final version. I don't go back like every year and read my books. I just keep looking forward.
Yeah, I think
Probably
that's,
have to.
yeah, like, yeah, I mean, like, yes, for you, because you're writing, you know, someone like myself, and I'm sure a lot of your fans, Terry, like we read the single issues and we see where you're going, or sometimes we see where you're going. That's, I just lied. We don't always see where you're going. So I'm not,
Left turn.
not, yeah. But then like on something like that, like we, you know, I read the 10 issues and I'm like, I just, after it's done, I have to go back and reread it because it's such a powerful story. And I'm like, there's just things in here now that I understand that, like, yeah, you understood when you were writing it, but I didn't catch maybe something that happened in the second or third issue that was, I noticed it, but I didn't notice the importance of it at the time. So rereading it those multiple times for like myself is a big deal. And I bring up Motor Girl mainly because like I probably read it. I know I've read it probably more than anything else you've written, and it just gets more powerful and more meaningful every time I read it.
The difference between your experience and mine is that your experience, you're doing it as the read, as normal. I spent all day on one page. So I just lingered on page 3 for all day. And I had like an hour and a half to think about panel 1, then panel 2. I'll do panel 3 after lunch. So it's just, yeah, I spend all day on a page. And so I have all this time to let my mind run around the page like a puppy in a little yard and think about it. And then I put things in there for the second read and the third read because I think I'm aware of this depth of field. There's the talking heads in the foreground, and then there's that background that you might look at for reference. There's always this middle area that is overlooked, and that's where you put things in there for the second read and where you can put symbolism and markers and Easter eggs. You know, I call them Easter eggs. They're just little things you could hide. If it's something happy, I might put a little mouse looking out from behind the cushion of the couch. Or it may have something to do with, you know, I try to put in symbolism and stuff like that because I really believe in subliminal advertising. So like if I make a picture, I know the difference between drawing a picture that makes you feel calm and drawing a picture that makes you feel nervous. And you have to use that, you know, if you're going to make comics, if all you know how to do is just do it one way, but if you know how to use all that stuff, you know, and throw all those different angles and lights in there, you know, those one page makes you happy and the next page really turns you off, but it works in the story. And then you turn the next page and, oh, now we got our revenge, you know. You want to be able to ride that roller coaster. So you have all day to think about how to make that work, you know. I guess it's like shooting a movie. You know, you spend all day on 1 minute.
Gotcha. It does. I'll let you ask the next one.
Is Zoe based on someone you know in real life?
Oh gosh, no. I hope not. No.
We were hoping that was the answer, but someone asked us to ask, so we're like, all right, we'll go there.
Zoe is actually based off of Lizzie Borden. Yeah, I went through a period. Makes sense. So if you take Lizzie and pull her back down to age 10, and she's walking around the house with a little axe. What are you doing? What are you? Put that down. Now we have a comedy.
That's funny.
At age 30, she's a drama. At age 10, she's a riot.
Yeah, that she is. So, we only have a couple more questions, and we'll get you out of here. So one of the things, and you may not know as much as this as Robin does, because once again, I bother Robin a lot. But I collect a lot of the foreign edition stuff that you put out. When with that, like, they seem to do a really good job of their binding.
Yeah.
Like, is there ever any thought of like, hey, can we find someone to do this type of binding for some of the American versions? Like, the French editions of your stuff is like phenomenal.
They're beautiful.
I mean,
They are. The book quality is extremely high. I expect those books to be around in 100 years, I know. And who else does beautiful books? The French, the German, and the Mexico books. The books from Mexico are gorgeous printings. So they're really amazing. They're in singles.
the German Motor Girl. The German Motor Girl is phenomenal.
The design is cool. Yeah. I think maybe the reason is, one of the things is, well, first off, you're dealing with the best designers in Europe, as opposed to, I'm a cartoonist and I just kind of slap something together on Photoshop and, hey, send it off to the printer. But over there, you've got guys who drive BMWs and make a living in turtlenecks with, like, we shall move it like this. Oh, yeah. And also, I really suspect that there's no forestry laws over there, and they're printing those books with 200-year-old Brazilian rosewood, because the paper quality is just, we don't have placemats as nice as the paper in those books.
No, we don't. It's like I said, it's the quality of a lot of that is, it's very astounding to me how it is, and it just looks so different being on a shelf. And of course, the French editions are so nice because they're just white. It's just this white book with your image on it, and it just really pops. And
you know what? That French edition is, I can picture that book on Audrey Hepburn's bookshelf. That's how good it is. It just looks, it has that elegant look, Should have it there right next to the book on the Beautiful Crystal or something, just because it's a looker.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I know they're good. Their design is and good taste is what they do. And I wish that they would do a version first, and then I'll copy them and put mine out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll show it. I'll show them the stuff first next time and just say, "What would you do?"
That's right. All right. I have some ideas, but what would you suggest? Yeah. Exactly.
I was going to use a photo of a garbage can. What do you guys think? How about a single green apple on a white background? One bite taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you're actually wrapping up 5 years, where do we go from here? We know you're working on number 10. We just got number 9. That just came out, last week, right? Yeah, last week, whatever. It's a week or two.
I don't even know.
Some day of the week. And we know you're working on 10. So, like, where do we go from here? What do we have to look forward to coming out once Diamond is back up and books start shipping again? What do we have looking forward to?
Whose character has their entire series in front of them?
Zoe.
Mm-hmm. That girl is just getting started, and her fan base is mighty. So it's Kachu and Zoe is basically how it is. So, and Kachu, at some point, let her enjoy a holiday, you know? You don't want to take anything away from her. Zoe, man, she's, she has a really interesting turn of events in issue 9 and 10 of 5 years. So you can see where it's pointed, and you can really picture her next year or 2 or 3. So it just seems kind of logical. We'll see. It depends on, I may get run out of the business, and if I'm run out of the business, then you guys will have to do it.
Now, we'll just leave it to you.
Okay.
We're doing what we can to help support, and fund this.
Absolutely. How are you guys doing? You good? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
A lot of mail orders?
Doing mail orders. We're basically doing deliveries, curbside.
Yeah.
They haven't, the state of Virginia hasn't actually made us close our doors because we're retail. They're just telling everyone not to come see us.
Yeah.
They're not telling us to close. So we've been spending a lot of time, going through back stock and basically getting ready for when we can reopen.
You would think we could just use the curtain, the shower curtain, and
yeah,
let them come
exactly.
up to the counter and get it.
Yep, exactly. So we're doing, but we're doing fine. It's just like everyone else, just kind of waiting for everything to open up and trying to stay out of everyone's way and see what happens.
You know what? You guys are not the kind of store that is in big trouble, because I can tell just by looking at the back wall there how diverse you are. You know who's in trouble? The people that only order the top 50.
Yes.
Those guys are screwed. I mean, I shouldn't go on record saying that, but I mean, if your whole business was based on Batman and 2 books, I mean, good luck.
Well, I mean, that's, one of the things that we deal with is we still, we don't just use Diamond. We use Penguin. We use Scholastic. We have Ingram. So we have like a 450 square foot all ages section. And we're still getting new books every week that we can ship out because Scholastic and Penguin and them, they're still shipping. They haven't stopped anything.
Right.
So
the kids are still reading. If anything, you have a captive audience. They need more reading material now than ever. So it's just the delivery system that's changed.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So we do, your curbside, people would come up and say, hey, run this out. So we'll, cover up and run it out. Or we've done deliveries where we'll just go by someone's house, put it on their front porch and leave and things like that. So there's still no contact, but people are getting their stuff.
They don't seem to mind it with Amazon and all the grocery deliveries.
No, exactly. Yep.
Right.
So it's working out fine.
And I'm hearing fantastic things about Amazon's business.
Yes.
I mean, this is just, exactly kind of what their dream situation would be as far as business-wise. Everybody wants us and everybody uses us now. And so, yeah, you just adapt. And you know what this kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of how many formats the music industry has gone through. If you bank everything on CDs, you're in trouble. It just change. When it changes, change. And people like, you think about the old guys rock stars who have been through all these different formats. They don't care if you buy it on which format you buy it on. Just get it.
Right.
So, and the delivery systems are the same way. But I still need about everything I see on your back wall.
You want the sheet?
I have to come in and get it, including the shield.
Yeah, we could do that. So, all right. Well, Terry, we appreciate it. Thanks for you taking time. I mean, it's, appreciate taking the time and coming talking to us and everything. So
tell Robin we say hi.
Yep.
I will. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. You guys take care.
And then remember, next year is it's 2021, so it'd be time to start bugging you to come back out to Richmond again in a few years. So that'll start up next year.
I would always up for that. Yeah, that would be great. And I will remember that we talked about the sketchbooks and that I didn't get away with that. I thought nobody would notice.
That'll be my one thing always. I still just take these 2 and scratch out the dates and put 2012 and 2018 on them. I'll be happy.
Yeah, just reprint them.
It's okay. It's fine.
I feel your pain though. I'm OCD. I feel it bothers me every time I have them up there because, You know, like I'm missing those two, and I'm also missing a copy of the Pocket Editions issue 5. It's driving me crazy. I have to go to the warehouse and get one because I can't sleep until it's there.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.